Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Mont, and this is my review of Final Fantasy XIV Patch 5.3, Reflections in Crystal. Why am I reviewing a patch for an MMO? Well, because it's a long-awaited patch for starters and features the finale of the Shadowbringers story. Shadowbringers as an expansion I reviewed some time ago after it launched. Now we're, well, about a year later and we've had 3 big patches and a bevy of changes. In terms of post-content, I think Shadowbringers has been a little lacking compared to Heavensward and Stormblood, even if the main campaign of Shadowbringers was better than both, for me. Still, this patch made up for it on the story front, and again there will be spoilers in this review, so if you're just wanting a quick, spoiler-free version, I liked the patch a lot, and if you're wondering if it's a good time to come back, I'd say yes, it is. And now into spoilers. In Heavensward we saw the demise of La Habrea. In Shadowbringers we finished off Emet-Selch, and now in Reflections in Crystal we defeated Elidibus, which means all 3 of the original or unsundered Ascians are no more. That is quite a big step considering they've been shaping the plot of the game for years and in-universe for hundreds or thousands of years. That isn't to say there are no more Ascians, as we still have several of them about, such as Fandaniel, but the big 3 are all gone. We're moving into the end period of the Zodiark and Hydaelyn plotline now, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here. As for 5.3, Elidibus proved himself a worthy adversary at the end, even if prior to that he'd been, well, a little stupid at times apparently. There were some nice moments too, to wrap it all up as our scions went back home at last. I particularly enjoyed the Alizé head desk. Outside of the main scenario quest for 5.3, which I rate highly, especially compared to the 5.1 and 5.2 main scenario quests, which were, a little lackluster by comparison. Aside from that though, we now have new Beast Tribe quests with the Dwarves. Is it ironic that Lalafels were the ones who coined the term Beast Tribe to arbitrarily call things they didn't really want to recognise as, well, people, and now we have Lalafell Dwarves as a Beast Tribe? It's a bit hard to review initially as it's going to take some weeks to finish the grind of their story, because of, its daily quests. But the premise is more interesting to me than the fairies and the forest rats, the latter of which I barely even remember the plot for. The fairies at least I remember, but little interest. But now we have dwarves building a tank, I like that. I like tanks, I like dwarves. And then we have the continuation of the weapon quest chain, whereas last time we fought the ruby weapon, this time we're fighting Sapphire, in a solo duty. But I really enjoyed that mech fight, and even after where you get to go and pose next to the G warrior thing, and I hope they have more mech references in this quest chain going forwards, as I enjoy those. Hell, my favourite anime is Erika 7, which I guess is a mech in some ways. But I really enjoyed the fight, and I'd love to see them build upon that mech thing and as a long-standing feature somehow. I don't really know how they could, but maybe, how Palace of the Dead is something that always is relevant as you can always use it to level up? I would love if the G-Warrior stuff remained persistent in some way. Don't know how, but hey, it's not my job to come up with reasons why they're. The other arguably biggest feature of the patch is more of the Yorha Dark Alliance raid series. Not really thrilled by it so far. I enjoyed Nier Automata, although I wasn't obsessed with it. I thought it was a fine game, but not an amazing one. The news of a crossover didn't really strike me as something really to look forward to. Still, the first raid was enjoyable, had some great music. This time we got an unexpected twist. I mean, I wasn't expecting it at least. And also a raid taking place in the crashed bunker, which was the not really the hub, so where you started Nier Automata. You didn't even start there, it was the robot's base that was floating in space. The robot base floats in space. The bosses had some cool mechanics, although that pod attack thing was bamboozling me something fierce and I still don't really understand it. I do think though Nier might have served better off as just a crossover event, or maybe a dungeon instead of an entire year-long raid series. But that's just me, and I know a lot of people are very happy about it because Nier Automata got a very good reception, and definitely not just because of 2B's outfit, and I know a lot of people are super happy to have 2B's outfit that they can wear. Plot-wise, well, I guess we'll see where it's going. I imagine it's gonna go absolutely nuts on the third part because it's Yoko Taro, but for now it's so-so for me. Perhaps the weakest part of Shadowbringers, if I'm being honest. That said, I prefer it over the Heavensward Alliance series. Ivlis is still my favourite though, for now. Unfortunately, we don't get the new equivalent of Eureka, the Bozja stuff until a little later. Even though it's included as a 5.3 feature, we're not getting it until 5.3.1, which will probably be sometime in September. So maybe like about a month or so after the actual main release. I'm looking forward to that though. I really hope the relic weapon of this expansion has some nicer glows and models and just more desirable aesthetics compared to the Stormblood ones. I feel like everyone wanted Heavensward and A Realm Reborn relics because they were great, especially the Heavensward ones. Stormblood relics, a lot of them just look ugly or have weird glows that look gross. Hopefully this time we'll get some really good ones. Overall, I think this was a good patch, but the main scenario quest was 100% the highlight, and I really hope that going forwards we're going to see more of these custom animations, unique animations for important cutscenes. I don't mind having, the pre-canned animations for, just not as important cutscenes, but for when we're having, voiced cutscenes too, I feel like we should be getting more of these unique animations. I know it's obviously more work, and using pre-canned animations makes everything a lot easier, but at this point Final Fantasy XIV has so many subscribers, must be generating so much income, that they need to pour more of it back into the game, even if it's just for things like these new animations, custom animations for cutscenes, because it seems like a small thing, but it really adds a lot to the experience, in my opinion. And yeah, the main scenario quest in 5.3 was a really nice send-off to the world we've spent the last year adventuring in. I know a lot of people got quite attached to it. And for once, instead of losing a Scion, we've gained a Scion. Another feature of this patch that didn't really impact me, but is still important, would be the old world changes. The 1 to 50 content has been adjusted to remove some of the filler, which means now is the perfect time to start the game. The filler has been moved to optional quests that you no longer need to do, but you can do. I don't know how drastic these changes are, of course, but I imagine it's going to make 1 to 50 a lot better. You can also now fly in the 1 to 50 areas. I did test that out. You can't fly all that high, and there's definitely some limits, but it's nice to have, for sure. And the game's free trial now extends all the way up to Heavensward, so it really is a perfect time to start playing. If you've been on the fence, you can get a lot of good content for free. As for the future, we've 2 more big patches to go before the next expansion, if I'm right. 5.4 and 5.5, and after that, well, probably comes the next expansion. And 5.5 is probably going to be split into 2 parts. I think that's usually how they've done it in the past, if I remember correctly. The schedule might be adjusted and fragmented because, as you may be aware, 5.3 was delayed by a few months because of the whole global pandemic thing. They had to start working from home. But hopefully now that they are all working from home and they have their workflow, I think they were saying like 90% back to usual or something, hopefully things will start to go back to more regular sort of schedules. The content we're still on the lookout for before the next expansion, well, we've got the weapon quest line conclusion with the trials, the final part of the Eden raids that I'm looking forward to, and the final part of the Near Alliance raid, along with more relic weapon stuff. Obviously, next expansion isn't going to launch in like 6-9 months or so, so there's the worrying possibility of some content droughts on the horizon. But if that is the case, one can always just pause their sub until more stuff comes out. I do hope they find ways to keep players engaged and entertained in the months to come though, and not just by going, here's like an infinite grind for you to do. Overall, 5.3 is good. What did you think of it? Let me know down in the comments, and until next time, you guys take care. Ciao.